Welcome to our deep dive, everyone, into cybersecurity.
In 2025.
Yeah, in 2025. Where else would we be?
Right.
So we've got this fascinating report, actually, the World Economic Forum's Global Cybersecurity Outlook 2025 report.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there.
It really is. And I think what strikes me right off the bat is just how much more complex everything's becoming.
Oh, absolutely.
No.
And I mean, it's not just the technology itself. It's like the whole landscape.
Yeah.
Geopolitics, supply chains,
Yeah.
AI, yeah. It's all kind of converging.
And it feels, well, a little unsettling, to be honest.
Yeah, I get that. Definitely some cause for concern.
But I think that's why we're here, right? To sort of break it all down.
Yeah, make sense of it all.
Exactly. So let's start with those geopolitical tensions. The report makes it pretty clear.
Yeah.
Cyberspace is like the new battleground, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Before it was all about nation states going after governments and stuff, but now, I mean, businesses are right in the crosshairs.
Especially, it seems, any business that's seen as strategically important.
Right, right. If you're in a sector that a country might consider valuable, well, you're a target.
And almost 60% of the organizations they talked to for this report, they said these tensions are directly shaping their security strategies.
Yeah. Can't ignore it anymore.
No, not at all. And then you layer on top of that this whole supply chain thing. I mean, everything's so interconnected now.
It is. It's mind-boggling, really. I mean, you think about it, like one little vulnerability in some tiny supplier somewhere halfway across the world.
And it can bring down like a whole industry.
It really can. Disruptions, financial losses, reputational damage. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, talk about a domino effect.
Yeah, and it all goes back to that old saying,
Yeah.
a chain is only as strong as its weakest link.
Exactly. And as if that wasn't enough, then we have, the AI.
Oh, yeah. AI, it's the wild card, isn't it?
Double-edged sword, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, that too.
I mean, on the one hand, it's this incredible tool for cybersecurity, right? You can analyze tons of data, find threats in real time.
Automate responses.
Right. Right. But then on the other hand,
It's like you're giving the bad guys this super-powered toolkit.
yeah, they're using it for supercharged phishing deepfakes.
Even malware that can learn and adapt. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It's scary, and it kind of feels like, both sides are just going to keep upping the ante.
Yeah, an arms race.
Yeah.
But with algorithms instead of,
Right. And all of this is happening while, of course, we have this massive cybersecurity skills gap.
oh yeah, can't forget about that. Not enough people to do the work. Simple as that.
And the report makes it clear that this gap is making things worse, right? It's widening the divide between the haves and the have-nots.
It is. I mean, if you're a big company with lots of resources, sure, you can attract talent, you can build up your defenses. But if you're a smaller outfit,
You're struggling to keep up.
absolutely. And that makes you a target. Low-hanging fruit.
Right, right. So we've got all these pieces. Rising tensions, vulnerable supply chains, AI that can be used for good or bad, and a shortage of experts. It's
A recipe for disaster?
maybe. Or maybe a wake-up call. I guess we'll see.
I think that's the question, isn't it? What do
yeah.
we do now?
And thankfully, the report does offer some ideas on how to navigate this mess, but we'll have to save that for part 2 of our deep dive.
Yeah, stay tuned for that.
Okay, so back to our cybersecurity deep dive in 2025. I feel like we left things on kind of a gloomy note.
Yeah, well, that's not all doom and gloom.
True, true. I mean, the report does talk a lot about this idea of cyber resilience.
Yeah, that's key. And it's, more than just having the latest antivirus software.
Right, it's not just checking boxes.
Exactly. It's about this culture of security, like it's got to be embedded in everything an organization does.
Okay, so mindset over checklist. But how do you actually build that?
Well, you start by accepting that, look, a cyber attack is probably going to happen.
Oh, great. That's reassuring.
Well, I mean, it's realistic, right? So you got to plan for it.
So what? Have a fire drill, but for hackers?
Exactly. Incident response plan.
Yeah.
Know what to do, who to call, how to contain the damage.
So you're not scrambling when it hits the fan.
Exactly. And practice it, regularly, just like a fire drill.
Okay, that makes sense. But you mentioned this bigger idea of a security culture. What else goes into that?
Well, for one thing, everyone needs to feel comfortable speaking up if they see something fishy.
Like if they click on a phishing link by accident.
Yeah, even then. No shame, no blame. Just report it so you can deal with it.
Because let's be honest, human error, that's still a huge factor in all this.
Oh, absolutely. So training is important too, Make sure everyone's up to speed on the latest threats.
Right, because technology can only do so much.
Exactly. And then there's There's cyber insurance.
Yeah, that's becoming more common, but it's expensive, right?
It can be, yeah, especially for smaller businesses.
The report actually talks about that, how it's a growing concern.
Yeah, premiums are going up, coverage can be limited.
So what can be done about that?
Well, there are some ideas floating around, like government-backed insurance.
Like how they do flood insurance in some areas?
Yeah, something like that. Especially for critical infrastructure or small businesses.
Makes sense. They're the ones who can least afford to be hit.
Right. And there's also talk of, industry groups pooling resources.
Oh, so like businesses in the same sector coming together to create their own insurance.
Exactly. Kind of spreads the risk.
That's interesting. Seems like we need some out-of-the-box thinking here.
We do, we do. The old ways might not cut it for cyber.
Okay, so we've got incident response, security culture, insurance. What else?
Well, we got to talk about the skills gap again.
Yeah, that elephant in the room.
It's a big one. And the report, it really digs into potential solutions.
Like what?
Well, for starters, upskilling. Train the people you already have.
Right, because you might have someone with potential right there in your company.
Exactly. And don't just focus on tech skills either.
Oh, so like communication law, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Cybersecurity needs people who can think broadly, understand the human element.
That's a good point. It's not just about firewalls anymore.
Nope. It's about risk, communication, even psychology.
Right, because at the end of the day, it's people who make mistakes, who fall for scams.
Exactly. And then beyond upskilling, we got to look at recruiting differently.
Okay.
Well, think about all the untapped talent out there.
Yeah.
Underrepresented groups.
Yeah, that's true. We need more diversity in this field.
Absolutely. Different perspectives, different experiences. It makes for a stronger defense.
Plus, it's just the right thing to do.
Absolutely. And then there are apprenticeships.
Okay.
Create pathways for people to enter the field.
I like that, giving people opportunities.
Yeah, it's not just about finding talent, though. It's about keeping it, too.
Oh, right, because burnout is a huge problem in cybersecurity.
It is. So we got to create supportive environments.
Yeah.
Recognize people's contributions, give them opportunities to grow.
For work-life balance, too.
Absolutely. People need to feel valued, or they'll burn out and leave.
So it's a long-term thing, this skills gap. Needs effort from everyone, companies, governments.
Education, everyone. And it's a shift in mindset. Got to make cybersecurity a more appealing career.
Yeah, because right now it's kind of seen as this dark and mysterious world.
It doesn't have to be, though.
Yeah.
There's so much potential there to make a real difference.
Okay, so lots to think about with the skills gap. But there's one more thing I wanted to touch on, the economics of all this.
Yeah. That's a fascinating angle.
Because usually cybersecurity is seen as a cost, right? Something you have to do.
But the report flips that. It's an investment.
So like good cybersecurity can actually help a company grow and innovate.
Exactly. If you're confident in your security, you're more willing to take risks, try new things.
And that leads to, well, a stronger economy overall.
It does. It does. And it's not just about individual companies. Think about the global level.
Like, if a major attack takes down critical infrastructure.
Yeah, or the financial system. We're talking massive economic damage.
So investing in cybersecurity, it's not just about protecting yourself. It's about protecting everyone.
Exactly. It's a strategic imperative for the future.
Wow, that's a powerful way to put it. So we've covered resilience, insurance, the skills gap, even the economics. I feel like we're getting a much clearer picture of this complex landscape.
We are. But there's one more layer we need to add.
Oh, and what's that?
Ethics. The ethics of all this technology, especially AI.
Right, because just because we can do something doesn't mean we should.
Exactly. And that's a whole other can of worms, but a really important one. We'll dig into that in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, so welcome back to our deep dive on the Global Cybersecurity Outlook 2025 report. We've really been digging into the challenges and, some potential solutions.
Absolutely. We talked about everything from the crazy complex cyber landscape and building resilience in organizations to the need to close that cybersecurity skills gap.
And how it's not just about the cost, Cybersecurity can be a real driver for the economy.
Right, a strategic investment. But, we can't forget about this other crucial aspect.
The ethics of it all, especially with AI becoming such a big player.
Exactly. It's like we have this incredible power, but using it responsibly, that's the key.
Yeah, just because AI can do something doesn't mean it always should. So when we talk about using AI in cybersecurity, what are some specific ethical things we got to consider?
Well, I think one of the biggest worries is unintended consequences.
Right.
AI is great at learning and adapting, right?
Right.
But that means it can sometimes do things its creators never even imagined, and
Uh,
not always in a good way.
oh, okay. So even with the best intentions, things can go sideways. Can you give me an example of what that might look like in cybersecurity?
Sure, imagine an AI system that's defending a network from attack. It's learning, it's adapting its defenses, but then maybe in its effort to be, I don't know, super efficient, it ends up blocking legitimate traffic.
Hmm.
Or even worse, launching counterattacks that actually escalate the situation.
Ooh, that's scary.
Yeah, it's like giving the AI too much autonomy without fully understanding how it's going to react in every situation.
Right, right. And that kind of ties into another concern I've heard, transparency or the lack of it with some AI systems.
Absolutely. A lot of these AI systems, their decision-making processes, they're so complex that even the people who built them might not fully understand how they work.
So you might not know why an AI made a particular decision, which could be a real problem in cybersecurity. Yeah.
Exactly. What if it flags a legitimate user as a threat? Or
Yeah.
what if it misses a real attack because it misinterpreted something?
Right.
You got to be able to understand the why behind the AI's actions, especially when it comes to security
It's
decisions.
explainability. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. Explainability and trust. If we're going to rely on AI for cybersecurity, we got to be able to trust its judgment. And that means understanding how it's reaching its conclusions.
So we need to be able to look under the hood, so to speak, and make sure the AI isn't making decisions based on faulty logic or some bias in the data it was trained on.
Exactly. And, there's another ethical thing to think about, something that could get really dangerous.
What's that?
An AI arms race. Like imagine both sides, the good guys and the bad guys, both using AI, constantly trying to one-up each other.
It's like the Cold War, but with algorithms instead of nukes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And that's not a future anyone wants.
No, definitely not.
I-
So what can we do to prevent that?
Well, the report, it really stresses international cooperation. Like, we need to come together as a global community and set some ground rules for how AI is developed and used in cybersecurity.
So thinking of AI not just as a weapon, but as a tool for good, something that benefits everyone.
Exactly. A tool that enhances security globally, not just for those who can afford the most advanced technology.
Wow. That's a big challenge, but I think we need to face it head on.
I agree.
Well, this has been a really fascinating and honestly a little bit scary look at the ethical side of AI and cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And it seems like we're just at the beginning of understanding what all this means. So, what's the main takeaway for our listeners here? What should they be thinking about?
I think the most important thing is to be informed. Stay engaged. The future of cybersecurity, it's not set in stone. It depends on the choices we make.
So, as individuals, we can educate ourselves about the risks and the potential benefits of these technologies. We can also, speak up and demand more transparency from the companies developing them.
Absolutely. And support policies that promote responsible innovation. Every little bit helps.
That's a great point. We all have a role to play, whether it's talking to our friends and family about these issues, staying informed, or pushing for positive change at a larger scale.
It's about shaping the future, really, making sure these powerful technologies are used to create a better, more secure world for everyone.
Well said. This has been an incredible deep dive into the Global Cybersecurity Outlook 2025 report.
It has been fascinating.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. And to all our listeners out there, remember, cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay secure. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of cybersecurity.